corruption. In many ways, we did the nation a service because we dealt with this issue before anyone else. And they could see what was happening in New York and learn from what was happening in New York.
We're a
Going
little bit
second
late, y'all.
or going third
30 minutes.
or not having the COVID issue until 3, 4
So we're going to go back.
to the core. But you got to see what people were made of. Rebuild and recover. We need help from the federal government. This has been
Let's listen to these people.
Cold
Because
stress
as black
period.
people, we never really listen to these people that control shit. So let's listen to them.
and you really saw people rise to the occasion. We are working on 3 priorities: rebuilding and recovery, vaccination, and controlling COVID. To rebuild and recover, we need help from the federal government. This has been a national pandemic. It's a national economic crisis, and no state can recover on its own, and we need federal help. And it's in the nation's best interest to help the states recover. What you call state and local relief has been debated for over a year. Prior administration was against providing states and localities with relief. President Biden said when he was running for election that if elected, he would provide state and local relief, and he was true to his word. He proposed $350 billion. It was accepted by the House, it was accepted by the Senate, so this is really good news. We've been waiting a long, long time for it. How the federal government ever thought the nation was going to recover if the states did not recover was always beyond me. Federal government is only a compilation of the states. You can't have a federal recovery without a state recovery. But President Biden stepped up and did what he said he was going to do. Now the question...
That sounds like double talk. To me, that sounds like... That definitely sounds like double talk to me. I don't know.
is fairness in the distribution of the $350 billion. That $350 billion goes to Congress. They'll come up with a formula to distribute the $350 billion. And that's the next chapter in this story. What is the fair distribution of the $350 billion? And I believe that it is factually inarguable, but that New York, New Jersey, Connecticut paid a higher price for COVID than other states and other parts of this country. That is just a fact. COVID came to the United States from Europe, not from China, and those flights landed in New York and New Jersey.
Oh,
wait,
what did he say? Wait, what? We gotta listen to him. It came from Europe, not from China. The last time an infectious disease came from Europe, it was because they weren't transporting their meat properly, and then they.
That's why we had the explosion in the numbers early on. That's why we had deaths here before they even had COVID tests, because the virus was coming for 3 months and the federal government had no idea. It was negligence by the federal government. And when you talk about fairness, the federal government should allocate funds in a way that is fair and fair to this crisis. When a state gets hit by a hurricane, that state gets relief. It's not that every state gets relief. The places that paid the highest price for the emergency, and our state and our region paid the highest price for the emergency. We also need fairness in the tax policy. What happened during the Trump administration is it was highly political, and they used taxes to actually hurt certain states and take from certain states. They took tax money from New York, New Jersey, other Democratic states, and they transferred it to Republican states. That's what the quote-unquote SALT provision was all about. SALT is technical and confusing, state and local taxes, but they, for the first time ever, taxed the taxes that people pay. It was the first double taxation in history, and it was a pure redistribution of wealth, saying we're going to take from the richer states and give to the poorer states. They took from New York, they took from New Jersey, they took from Connecticut, they took from California, and they redistributed that money to Republican states. We still have an open litigation on it. So we say to the Congress now, be fair, repair the damage that was done with a hyper-political administration that preceded President Biden, and be fair in the distribution of the COVID relief funds, and fair is to distribute the COVID relief funds proportionate to the damage.
Okay, black people, let's not act like we didn't take part in them COVID relief funds. He's saying a lot, but listen.
Of COVID. That's the next step. repeal SALT, because every day that SALT is still in place, you have people paying more in taxes that they shouldn't be paying. And it hurts this state and it hurts other states that were victims of the SALT attack. And distribute the COVID relief proportionate to COVID relief. I want to welcome our friend and our neighbor, great colleague of mine, someone who we've worked hand in glove with all through this long year that really tested all of us and tested government, tested our individual strength to the core, but you got to see what people were made of. And I got to be in the trenches with Governor Murphy.
He said he. I'm tired. He said he was in the trenches.
Great neighbor, a great friend, and an extraordinary public servant. And I'm pleased to be with him today. Governor Murphy, good to see your face.
Good to see you, Governor Cuomo. Thank you very much for having me on today. And same right back to you. Period. Full stop. Not just for these 342 days, that takes my breath away, but for the past 3 years since I've had.
You hear the white man? He said, "Period. Full stop." Full stop is a term used by white supremacists. We're gonna listen.
The honor of serving as governor of New Jersey. We could not have had as a state a better partner across the Hudson than you and your team representing the Empire State. Everything from tax fairness to battling the virus. People say, gosh, we don't see you guys as visibly with each other as we did in the spring and early summer. That may be true, but I want to echo what you've said. The partnership with you personally, with your team, continues as strong as it has ever been, and it has been invaluable. And that partnership has saved lives without question on both sides of the Hudson. I want to just echo very briefly 2 points that you raised, Andrew. Number one, the state and local aid. We desperately need it, and I won't repeat your great comments in terms of not just the need, which is inarguable, but also the way that the need should be apportioned. We were clobbered with you in Connecticut, and Ned Lamont's done a great job there, and the Metro New York region, and that must be taken into account, not only getting the state and local over the goal line, which I know President Biden is committed to. Spoke with Speaker Pelosi earlier in the week. The great news is the leadership in Congress gets this, but also the way that it is apportioned. And then secondly, repealing.
He's talking way too much. People that run their mouth like that, they lie. Motherfucking lie. Whatever he's saying, it's a lie.
The cap on the state and local tax deduction, which was done, as you suggest, not for any practical purpose, but completely based on politics. And New York and New Jersey were already over disproportionately giving more to Washington than we get back from Washington to begin with. Now, listen, we're happy to do that if it's a fair deal, but this deduction cap made that deal a very unfair deal. Double taxation, as you rightfully point out, prioritizing other parts of the country ahead of our region, prioritizing the very wealthy and the biggest corporations over working families. So it is high time that this thing gets taken off the books. The longer it stays on, the more people are going to get hurt. I think in New Jersey alone, Governor, it's been an increment of, I believe, of around $3 billion out of the pockets of our homeowners in the state. It's high time.
He's trying to take the pressure off this congressman. Because he don't want to talk no more. Look at his fucking face. He don't want to talk no more. He thought the first thing he said was going to wrap it up. Nah, we in the age of we watching shit, nigga. We want to see who you are. Y'all put the black community in this fucking situation. Crack selling and gun toting and killing each other. We got to be alpha. Nigga, what you look like when a nigga puts you to that same standard. It's 13, 14-year-old boys out here that have seen more horrendous things than you, nigga. And you put us in that position. Ain't no society supposed to be like that. Young kids fucking, you know.
Time we got this thing off the books. I'm honored to be working on that with you and on so many other fronts. And thank you again for your extraordinary partnership and leadership.
Well, Governor, it's been my pleasure, and it really has been. You know, it's been so frenetic that we haven't really had a chance to go back and study or analyze. But I feel the same way. I couldn't have had a better partner. And if our delegations lock arms on this appropriation, on the $350 billion and how it's distributed, and if they lock arms on the repeal of SALT, which, by the way, every representative of New Jersey and New York stood up when SALT was passed. Every one of them said it was unfair. Every one of them said it needed to be repealed. So now it's just a question of when, and our point is time is of the essence. We'll get through this, and we'll be the better for it. And I want to thank you personally, Phil, for everything you've done.
Same right back to you, Andrew. God bless you.
Thank you. God bless you, Phil. Thank you. Governor Murphy mentioned the cost. Our cost per year of just SALT is over $12 billion. Our cost per day is $34 million. Every day that SALT is not repealed is another $34 million that is taken from the taxpayers of this state. Think about that. And that's why time is of the essence.
So what? We need to stop eating salt. It raises blood pressure. And it gives the fucking doctors a harder job to do. So let's get rid of salt. if they would have just told people, hey, we got to get rid of salt. All we got is adobo. Motherfuckers use adobo. They be using excuses. They be trying to hide behind shit. Nobody need fucking salt, nigga. You can make shit taste good without salt, nigga. Salt is back in the day when they had to preserve meats that was going rotten, so they put salt on it because it takes the moisture out of things. Like, too much. Again.
$34 million a day New Yorkers are spending. And that's why I focused the way I focused, and that's why we're going to continue to keep the pressure on until SALT is repealed. Let's talk about controlling COVID. Statewide positivity rate, 4.3. Statewide deaths, 153. They're in our thoughts and prayers. Hospitalizations down, ICU up 10, intubations up 14. Percent of hospitalizations by region, Long Island, Long Island, Long Island. Every part of the state is down. This is, again, we target the highest percentages, and it's Long Island in terms of hospitalizations. Positivity, it's Long Island and the Hudson Valley. In New York City, it's still the Bronx. We have made good progress in Staten Island, and I want to thank them very much because Staten Island was disproportionately high for a long period of time. More people got positive, tested positive, more people were hospitalized in Staten Island. But that's turned around, so I want to thank the people of Staten Island, and we are focusing on the Bronx. The numbers overall continue to decline, what we call the post-holiday surge. We're now down to 4.6. We were 7.9. It's the lowest daily positivity since November 28th, so that takes us just to about Thanksgiving, when people started to gather, started to celebrate, and we started to see that number go up. So we flattened the curve a second time. Hospitalizations are down, lowest level since January 1. So congratulations to New Yorkers. They rallied, they pulled together, and changed their behavior, and they changed the curve. The curve is determined by behavior, and New Yorkers once again rose to the occasion. We're then talking about vaccinations. We're over 2 million, 2.2 million, 1.7 first doses, 495,000 second doses. We have used 99.
I'm not about to Google these numbers. He's throwing out a lot of numbers. Whenever somebody start throwing out a lot of numbers, when you in the see, this is where respect come in play. If you tell me we having a conversation about one thing, and then you switch it up, I gotta switch it up. Now we playing a game. When did this serious conversation become a game? So he went from telling people what the fuck going on is to I'ma fuck with y'all because I don't respect your intelligence. Now he throwing about out a whole bunch of fuck. Let's watch how it transpired from that to that.
Continue to decline, what we call the post-holiday surge. We're now down to 4.6. We were 7.9. It's the lowest daily positivity since November 28th. So that takes us just to about Thanksgiving, when people started to gather, started to celebrate, and we started to see that number go up. So we flattened the curve a second time. Hospitalizations are down, lowest level since January 1. So congratulations to New Yorkers. They rallied, they pulled together, and changed their behavior, and they changed the curve. The curve is determined by behavior, and New Yorkers once again rose to the occasion. We're then talking about vaccinations. We're over 2 million, 2.2 million, 1.7 first doses, 495,000 second doses. We have used 99.02% of the dosages that we have received. Who's counting? We're counting. That's why it's 99.02%. That is obviously just about using all the doses we have received. And we now wait for the next week's allocation. But this is where we want to be. We want to use everything that we've received and get it into people's arms as soon as possible, and that's what we're doing. And then we're reliant on the supply. And the more supply we get, the more we can vaccinate. And the Biden administration is working very hard to increase that supply. They have increased that supply, but the more they increase the supply, the more we can actually vaccinate. Hesitancy, another new word, is a major obstacle in our path. Hesitancy is a new term for people who don't want to receive the vaccine. They're skeptical, they're cynical.
Okay, so they're talking about people who don't want to receive the vaccine. That's their choice. Are we not Americans? That's when it takes this conversation way too far. Is my child not an American? They have to go to school, they have to be vaccinated. See, it's all about the children. See, we tend to forget that society is all about children. Because who's going to push you around when you're old and your brain is failing you? You can't remember shit. We tend to forget about the kids. As if they're not the ones that's going to be raising this society higher. So we want to put them around a whole bunch of people that are like them, little humans that don't give a fuck about a sneeze, a cough. You gonna put them in school first. You gonna put them in school first. As soon as we defeat it, we're gonna put the ones that probably spread it fastest all in the same spot. That's my only thing. I don't.
About the vaccine, and they're not willing to take it. All the polling data has shown that you have a higher rate of hesitancy in Black and Latino communities. Association for a Better New York did a poll, a recent one, but it said, again, white population is more willing to take the vaccine than Black or Hispanic New Yorkers. What drives the differential? It's difference of opinion in the effectiveness of the vaccine. What are the side effects? Distrust of the healthcare system and distrust of government. Well, the Trump administration approved it. Yeah, well, I don't trust the Trump administration. I have that conversation 10 times a day. Yes, it was approved by the Trump administration. It was also approved by the New York State Department of Health and New York State doctors who have been studying it and the side effects, et cetera. But this is a real challenge, and I don't believe in camouflaging a problem, because you never solve a problem that you're unwilling to admit. A perfect sample. Look at the hospital workers, what they call the 1A population. These are people who work in a hospital. They didn't have to schedule a vaccine. They didn't have to get in their car and go drive and wait on a line. The hospital management said to the hospital workers, we have the vaccine, please take it. And they asked the staff to take it for now 8 weeks, 2 months. Please take the vaccine. It's in the building that they work. Well, who actually took it and who didn't take it? 70% of the work.
Okay, I'm not here saying this man is not speaking facts. This man is clearly tied into whatever he needs to be tied into. Because he has facts. He has real solid facts. I'm not saying he doesn't. But at the same time, I'm saying what he's trying to say is we've tried to give it to people and they didn't want it for whatever their personal gripes were with the government or whatever. And you can't blame those people for not wanting to take it, because it seems weird. It's so weird that all these things are happening like this and no one's giving us a clear answer to anything. Any logical person wants a clear answer before they go and they take a fucking vaccine. They convince people more of drugs turning people into zombies when they had that bath salt shit. And people still didn't get worried like this.
Were white. 63% of the people who took the vaccine are white. 17% of the workers are African American. Only 10% of the recipients are African American. 8% Hispanic or Latino. 10% vaccine recipients. So of hospital workers, Hispanics and Latinos actually overperform. 11% were Asian, and they were 16% of the people who took the vaccine. So it overperformed with Asian New Yorkers, overperformed with Latinos, underperformed with African American Black New Yorkers. Not just the hospital workers, which to me are just a very interesting sample group, because there is no other answer. They had all the obstacles to vaccine were removed for the hospital workers. But even if you look at the essential worker population, it's called the 1B, police, fire, teachers, 75% of them are white, 74% of the people who actually received the vaccine. 17% are Black, only 5% took it. 14% Hispanic Latino, 10% of recipients, 6% Asian, 7% of the recipients. So there you see a differential in both the Black and the Latino population, even for the 65 plus.
Okay, so right now he's playing a numbers game. He is a lazy politician. He knows he's smart, but he wants to play, and he gets bored of this shit. So he has his fucking secretaries or whatever put up numbers, and he'll just rattle them off. He's just rattling off fucking numbers.
Plus, which is a more diverse group and a more complicated analysis, frankly. But whites, you see about a proportionate representation. Blacks, you see a disproportionate, 13% were eligible, 65 plus, only 4% of recipients. 12% eligible Hispanic Latino, 5% of the recipients. So you see a significant differential there also with the over 65. Asian population just about where they should be. So we have challenges in reaching the black community. And there's an issue that's going to have to be addressed. We expected it. We talked about it early on. We are addressing it, but it still exists. Making special efforts to get into the community, to have the conversations, make it accessible. We're doing more in this state than any state in the nation in this regard. But you can never do enough. One of the things we're doing is mass vaccination sites in high positivity areas, which are also high black Latino demographic. And
Okay, so he so he used the term high positivity area. And then wait a minute. Hold on.
high positivity areas, which are also high black Latino demographic. And one of the most
He says high black Latino demographic. I don't know what to think about that. Like, it just sounds like he's saying the ghetto, but different.
vaccination sites is opening today. It's at Yankee Stadium. It is only for Bronx residents. As you saw, the Bronx is one of the highest positivity rates in New York City, and it has been persistent in its high positivity. A landmark in the Bronx, landmark in New York City, is Yankee Stadium. And that is true for many, many decades. I remember the first game my father took me to see in Yankee Stadium. That's back in the days of the Mickey Mantles of the world. But we reached out to Yankee Stadium with a somewhat unorthodox request, which is, would Yankee Stadium be willing to help us with this COVID crisis by making the stadium available as a mass vaccination site? It was an unusual request, I understand that. But the Yankees ownership said, and management said yes, they would. And we now have a mass vaccination site at Yankee Stadium. I want to thank Somos Healthcare, who's actually providing the clinicians. New York City is a partner. I want to thank them. I want to thank the National Guard, which is doing a great job setting it up. They really are extraordinary. But also I want to thank the Yankees themselves. And I want to thank the president, Randy Levine, who's...
Okay, y'all know I got a soft spot for the military. Whenever I see somebody trying to perpetrate,
New York City is a partner.
I
want to thank them. I want to thank the National Guard, which is doing a great job setting it up. They really are extraordinary. But also I want to thank the Yankees themselves.
This is my problem. Look at those soldiers right there. They fucking signed their lives away to defend a fucking country that hates them. That shit hits me in a different spot. They need to stop referring to these people and giving them 2 to 3 seconds. That shit pisses me off, bro. That Marine on the right side, he's been through more shit than that nigga on the left. You give him more than 3 seconds. And we're not even talking about the rest of the dudes in the pit. Like,
and I want to thank the president, Randy Levine, who's been a good friend to all New Yorkers and always steps up to the challenge, no matter how different it is. And this was a different request. I get it. And Aaron Boone, who's the manager of the Yankees, and they had a very strong season, and we're going to see an even better one next year. And Mariano Rivera, who to me symbolizes in many ways the best of the Yankees spirit. And I've just been a phenomenal fan of Mariano Rivera and his style, his accomplishment, his performance, and his spirit, and his smile. He just has an infectious smile. And we have with us today the president of the Yankees, Randy, good to see you, the manager, Aaron Boone, and the Sandman himself behind the mask, Mariano Rivera. Randy, I know this was an unusual request. You stepped up to the plate, pardon the pun. I knew I would get on the field in Yankee Stadium one way or the other as a kid. I never thought it was going to be this way, but I'll take it. I've said to everyone who's going to Yankee Stadium, I promised you we wouldn't destroy the infield, any damage to the infield. The state is going to be responsible. I'll be there with a new sod, and I'll fix any divots that we create. But Randy, thank you so much. Thank you for what you did. Randy Levine.
Thank you, Governor. And it's an honor to be with you today. Of course, we got our manager, Aaron Boone, and the only unanimous Hall of Fame person ever elected, the greatest, one of the greatest Yankees ever, Mariano Rivera. From Hal Steinbrenner to the whole Steinbrenner family, let me just say that this is an honor and a privilege for the Yankees to be able to be your partner and the city's partner and Somos' partner in this endeavor. This stadium is historical. It's built into the fabric of the city and the Bronx. We're part of the Bronx community. And this is bigger than baseball. This is a bigger purpose than baseball. So we are so honored and privileged to partner with you. We will do whatever it takes to make it better. I came in this morning. There are hundreds of people out there. And Governor, I wish you could see their face because it's hope. We're getting to the end of this. It's hope. And they're registering. Everybody here is communicating.
Are we black? We're going to keep it 100. Like we playing spades. The nigga on the right side look nervous. The senator look like this nigga better say what the fuck I want him to say. I'm not gonna get too far into it. That's interesting.
The people on the ground are wonderful. Congratulations on the way this was set up, both to your staff and our staff. It's just phenomenal. So we're here to do whatever it takes because this is the most important thing that each and every one of us are dealing with every day. So please don't ever hesitate to call upon us for anything. And if it's okay with you, I'd like Aaron and Mo to say a few words.
Please.
Thanks, Randy. Thanks, Governor. This is an exciting day in the Bronx, and this is a special place, Yankee Stadium, and has been the host of a lot of really special opening days. And I would say this is the most special opening day. The fact that we're able to be out there and really saving lives in this community. Like Randy said, this is a day of hope, and it's really exciting to be here and to be a small part of this. So thank you, Mariano.
Governor, thank you. Thank you for those kind of words saying thank you for having me, Randy. But it's amazing because I consider this my house, and I'm here with Dr. Ramon Talash of Somos, dear friend of mine. And it's wonderful what you guys doing, because I used to pitch here and save games. Now this is about saving lives. Randy mentioned it, and he said it. He cannot say it better than that. This is greater than baseball. We're talking about thousands and millions of people, and I walk around the people that were getting the vaccine.
It would be such a beautiful thing if they really shut down the stadium to give out vaccines. It would be such a beautiful thing. But do you feel like that's what happened? Do you feel like that? Look at this man's face. Look at his senator. Look at his face. When beautiful things like that happen, people don't look like this.
And I see so many smile faces. That's what it is all about. Hope is the name of the game right now. And thank God, thank God for everything because Yankee Stadium has been provided. Many wonderful games and World Series, but now they're providing opportunities to come here to the people of the Bronx, our people, come here to being vaccinated. And I'm happy. That's why I'm here supporting them. They supported me for so many years. I'm here to support them now. Thank you very much.
Well, Randy Levine, I can't thank you enough, and I can't thank you enough on behalf of all New Yorkers. Again, you're right. This is unusual times, but I'll tell you the truth.
Yo, shout out to New York, all the New York rappers. Free Bobby Shmurda. Davies is the beast. Styles P, Chic Luch, Jadakiss. People don't even know what his name means. But yeah, shout out to New York.
You really did get to see what people are made of.
Nope.
And when I called you, I knew
no phone calls.
How unique this request was, and you could have very easily said no thank you, but you were 100% open, and your entire group has been fantastic to work with. So Randy Levine, I can't thank you enough. Manager Boone, you had a great season. We'll have a better one. Mariano, your spirit means so much to the people of this state. The love they have for you and your credibility that you are there today and you're saying that this is smart and this is what people should do, I think is going to go a long way. And the words you just used, that you've saved games in that stadium, which is totally true, now you're saving lives. Truer words were never spoken.
Oh my gosh, bro. Bro, shut.
And this vaccine does save lives. And that's why it's so important that people know that and people accept it. Because this vaccine can save their life. And your presence today.
When someone knows that's bullshit, but they think there's a vast majority of people buying it, they just fucking go 120%. Like, you could have fucking fell back, but no, you doubled down, my nigga. tripping.
is going to bring that message home to many, many people because they do trust you and they do respect you. So thank you very much for being part of this today.
Governor, can I add
Please, Mr. Levine.
to help get people here what we're going to do? So all you Yankee fans and baseball fans, we're going to have some Yankee, over the next couple of days, some little Yankee trinkets and gifts for people to help incentivize them.
Well, Randy,
Yes.
I'm coming. Save some for me, Randy. So put them on the side.
We got you covered always.
Randy Levine, Mariano Rivera, Manager Boone.
We'll replace the turf. You can take it.
It's the one thing I'm competent to do on the field is to do the seating. That's all I can do. But Mariano, you should know I've gotten pretty good at hitting the curveball in this job. I'll tell you the truth because they throw a lot of curveballs in my league. Thank you all very much. God bless you. Thank you very much. I'll see you soon. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, that was a treat. And that's an important message. And Yankee Stadium and the Bronx and Mariano Rivera, I hope people hear those words and I hope they take them to heart. We have maintained a priority focus on hospital workers on the vaccine, or else, if there is another variant, if there is another surge, if the hospital workers are not vaccinated, they will get sick. If the hospital workers get sick, the hospitals will fail. That's why the priority for the hospital workers. Also, nurses, doctors, these are the frontline heroes. Everybody says that. They are more exposed to the COVID vaccine than anyone else. Everybody knows that. And if they ever got the COVID, they would be super spreaders. Everybody knows that. So we prioritized and focused on vaccinating hospital workers. We've made tremendous progress in that. When we started January 18th, we were at 63% of the hospital workers were vaccinated. We then did a push. Every day I talk about it. We went up to 72%. We are now at 75%. That is exactly where we needed to be, and we are there. And it was a great effort on behalf of the hospitals to get there, and I want to thank them very much because it has been a tremendous amount of progress in a relatively short period of time. And remember, they are also dealing with the hesitancy issue in the hospitals, and they can offer it to the staff, but they can't mandate that the staff takes it. So they did have to have the conversations and the education and the communication that we've been talking about. But many of the hospitals did a great job, and overall they did a great job because we're at 75%. There is still a very uneven performance in this regard, and this still has to be addressed. You have some hospitals that are at 100%, and then you have hospitals that are at 40%. That is a major disparity. And the differential between literally the higher performing and the lower performing is over 100%. So that is a problem. I've asked the local health departments, please focus on the lower performing hospitals, especially those local governments that run the hospital. These are your hospitals. Please get the performance up. But overall, it has been a great, great success. The hospitals have had 8 weeks to focus on their staff, and that's how we achieved the 75%. We're giving them 1 more week to do the last workers. Please go back and appeal to them 1 more time, the people who haven't taken it. Talk to them about the facts. Talk to them about the experience of people who have taken the vaccine. We now have over 2 million New Yorkers who have taken the vaccine. You have a lot of data on possible side effects, etc. We're not asking them to go first. They'd be number 2 million and 1, right? So please go back and try 1 more time, but 1 more week for this allocation. And then what we're going to do is reallocate the doses that were sent to the workers. And we will then give that allocation to the local health departments to do people with comorbidities. And that will start February 15th. The hospitals will still get enough doses to do who they have to do, who they've scheduled, and any workers who they can convince to take it.
It's not.
But an allocation above that will be given to the local health departments, and we're going to open it up to people with comorbidities. We do not have a supply that can reach everyone. You understand that? So the prioritization is to reach those people who are most at risk or most essential through this period of time. But February 15th, we'll open it up to people with comorbidities. Comorbidities and age are the major factors in COVID mortality. And just hear this one number. 94% of the people who die from COVID are people with comorbidities or other underlying conditions. 94%. So why don't we do this group of workers? Why don't we do this group of workers? You do every group in the state when you do people with comorbidities. If you are a carpenter with a comorbidity, if you are a teacher with a comorbidity, if you are a homemaker with a comorbidity, if you're a lawyer with a comorbidity, whoever you are, 94% of the deaths are people with comorbidities. Yes, we had to do hospital staff. Yes, nursing homes. After that, 94% of the deaths, people with comorbidities. And that's why I feel comfortable about this decision. We have 1 week, local health departments start preparing for it, think about it. We're working with the CDC to establish the comorbidities list. What is a comorbidity? How do you define it? The CDC has guidance on that. We're working with the CDC to clarify some definitions, but we're basically going to follow the CDC guidance. Local health departments have a week. Hospitals, you have 1 more week to get your hospital staff to accept the vaccine, and then we'll focus on the comorbidities. questions of the use of the second dose as the first dose. That is a federal decision. The state does not make that decision. The federal government controls the allocation. We get a first dose allocation, we get a second dose allocation. When we get it from the federal government, they say use the first dose for the first dose and the second dose for the second dose. That's why there's a first dose allocation, and that's why there's a second dose allocation. The FDA has spoken specifically to this. At this time, suggesting changes to the FDA authorized dosing schedules of these vaccines is premature and not rooted solidly in available evidence. Not rooted solidly in the available evidence. Without appropriate data supporting such changes in vaccine administration, we run a significant risk of placing public health at risk, undermining the historic vaccination efforts to protect the population. So their federal position is clear. This is the Biden administration. We work very closely with them, and they are a very respected group of public health officials. CDC, the second dose should be administered as close to the recommended interval as possible. CDC continues to recommend that people get their second dose as close to the recommended interval as possible. So the federal position is clear. Use the first dose for the first dose. Use the second dose for the second dose. I have spoken to them about using a percentage of the second dose for the first dose. It's complicated, but I think it could be done. The federal government is not there at this point. They have not approved it. But if they do approve it, then New York is ready, willing, and able to do it. But it's a federal decision. Johnson & Johnson filed for an emergency use authorization. This is a big deal. The meeting is going to be in a couple of weeks. But if they approve Johnson & Johnson, it's a game changer. It's a single dose, not two dosages, which makes a phenomenal logistical difference. And it does not require the cold storage chain that Pfizer requires. Pfizer requires significant cold storage that most facilities don't have. Hospitals do have the cold storage capacity for Pfizer. So we're using regional hospitals to keep the Pfizer vaccine. Many local health departments then have to go to that hospital to pick up the vaccine because they can't store it. Johnson & Johnson, that's not the case. It's basically normal refrigeration equipment. So single dose plus no cold storage chain, that is a very big deal. They're talking about a possibility of 100 million doses by June. That would be a huge deal. So fingers crossed, but this would be a massive supply differential. To remind local governments, we have to have a police reform plan in place on April 1. I understand that dealing with public safety is not an easy issue. I get it. I also understand that it is an essential issue. We're talking about rebuilding the economy. We're talking about reopening. We're talking about getting people to go back to work. We're talking about getting people to come back from vacation homes and go back to cities. They have to be safe. They have to be safe. That is the foundation. And yes, I get the tensions, and I understand it's hard to address the tensions between the community and the police, but it's always about trust and respect. And the collaboratives have to be undertaken, and we have to have the conversation, and we have to reach a place of commonality. And that's 55 days away. Local governments that don't have a passed public safety reform plan, passed by the legislative body, signed by their chief executive, they will not be eligible for state funding. And if they receive state funding, there would be a monitor that would be put in place. So 55 days, please, let's get this done. Variants of interest, another new term, goes in the new COVID dictionary with hesitancy. Variants of interest. We've identified 15 new variants of interest cases, 59 total UK strains in New York now. That number is up. The UK strain is reportedly up to 70% more transmittable. That is a frightening thought. So we're watching it closely. CDC is watching it. Other countries are watching it. But we do now have 59 cases. This is where they are. It's all throughout the state, and it is something that we are watching. All those numbers are now on the way down. All those numbers are on the way down. Well, what could change it? A variant strain could change it. A variant strain that is more infectious, more transmittable, or more lethal, or a variant strain that is resistant to the vaccine. Those could all be game changers. So we deal with the here and now. We deal with the facts that we have now. We deal with the reality that we face now. But we're aware of new possible threats in the future. If those new possible threats actualize, we will respond to them accordingly, as we have all through this. Mariano Rivera, you don't know what the pitcher is going to throw. The pitcher throws the ball. You watch the pitch, and you adjust the swing accordingly. So we wait to see what the COVID pitcher throws. Depending on whether it's a fastball or a sinker or a curveball, then we will adjust our swing accordingly. But right now, all the numbers are down, but we're aware that the pitcher has the capacity to throw a curveball. And we are ready for the curveball if that pitch comes. Yesterday, I sent a letter to the congressional delegation, and I had a conversation with them on the phone on the same topic that we talked to Governor Murphy about earlier. The allocation of the $350 billion is everything. And I understand the congressional process. I respect the congressional process. I understand that COVID has affected every state. COVID has not affected every state the way it has affected this state. That is the fact. My job as governor of New York is to represent the people of the state. I fight for the people of the state. That's what I do. That's what I'm supposed to do. That's my oath. This state deserves a disproportionate amount of the federal aid because we had a disproportionate amount of the pain and the loss. We had more economic loss. We had more deaths. We had more disruption. In many ways, we did the nation a service because we dealt with this issue before anyone else.